back with one more round of 16 game. We've got Melvinfro versus NounVerber. I am excited for this one. Another little bit of an underdog match here. As Melvinfro, one of the best players of Tooth and Tail, has won a couple championships, I believe. Has definitely been on the finals several times. NounVerber is the up-and-comer. Another of these kind of newer players that is quickly becoming a very strong contender here in the round of 16. I feel like it's like the NounVerber. I feel like the first batch, like last season, was like Evil Murloc and Chase. Like everybody was like, what? Like, you know, how far they got in the tournament was very impressive. And I think this time around, it's Jordy, Floor, and NounVerber are kind of the new faces of the round of 16. And NounVerber, a relatively new player. I think they kind of came in around the same era as Jordy. So by new, I mean probably, what, a couple of years now, something like that. Meanwhile, Melvinfro, if you've been a fan of Tooth and Tail and TnTTV, you know the name. Very common to see Melvinfro making it quite deep into tournaments. I believe he's won. Yeah, he's definitely won at least one. Let me double check the Hall of Champions here. Yep, Melvinfro won 2024 Season 2. And he won TNT Championship League Season 2, which is 2023 Season 2. Got a handful of second places. Yeah, so 2 championship wins. Intermediate win back in 2017. Wow. No, 2019. So, been around the block for quite a long time. I really like that we got the Hall of Championships, like, updated. It's really cool. Try to keep that kind of... I remember I kind of lamented I didn't do a good job of that way back in the day when I was doing a lot of different events and tournaments and stuff. Like, I just didn't do a good job cataloging it. So I appreciate that Vinya put some effort into that. I think Mochaccino did as well, to go back and see who won the events and get it cataloged. But who is going to win 2026 TNT Championship is the question. Could be one of these folks right here. It would be crazy to see, like, Floor win, right? So I think Floor, I mean, assuming Melvin's probably going to beat NounVerber here. Floor did beat QQ, so Floor is advancing to round of 8. So I think Floor might be the hope. Yeah, Chase got knocked out. We just saw that. So yeah, is Floor the new hope? Or maybe NounVerber can be here. Haven't said a whole lot about this game, actually. It's actually quite a large map, so both players are kind of carefully macroing up. We didn't see that straight to 16 farms, kind of mixing in, you know, our units as necessary. Lots of good scouting. I will say I'm a bit worried about NounVerber's army. I think he's keeping up in economy, but he's not keeping up in tech. He's got probably too much tier 1. But then again, I mean, Squizzard's pretty good against what Melvinfro's throwing down at the moment. Like, is he actually gearing up for an attack? It looks like he is. Here we go. Is this gonna work? Not too sure. All the tier 2 are still alive for Melvin. The snakes go down. Yeah, pretty brutal attack there from NounVerber, getting shut down. That army comp just is not up to snuff for a mid game. NounVerber realizing that now, starting to get into some Falcons. But Melvin with a good defense there. Really foisted that attack away with no problem. And NounVerber is in some trouble now. I mean, that was a really big loss. So Melvin is pretty far ahead. And yeah, I like the Badger. Because basically that extra money that Melvin made from defending that attack so well is like paying for the Badger, right? Like the Badger's not even a risk for Melvinfro at the moment. NounVerber doubling down on the Lizards, and I don't think that's the right move for this situation. I mean, this attack is just, I mean, Melvin is just so well defended. Does get in here and scouts the Badger. I've definitely been in NounVerber's shoes before, where I think he's just like, I really want to play this Squizzard comp, and is maybe being stubborn about not playing to what is best for the situation. We'll see. He's gonna try to run him over again, but I mean, 4 skunks with all those pigeons. I mean, that's just a brick wall. That is so much HP you gotta chew through. So maybe if NounVerber can really do a good job getting the snake tags on, and so far he is. A couple of the tier 2 got the tags. But yeah, I mean, the Lizard's just getting absolutely obliterated here. Another really strong defense from Melvinfro. I mean, look at the army graph. So I think the Badger comes out and Melvin just kind of wins this game. I think the strategy that NounVerber was going for would work if it was a 1-base game, but in a 2-base game, yeah, just the Skunks are a weird unit because, like, Squizzard is actually pretty good against 2 Skunks. But when you got 4 Skunks with a bunch of pigeons, like, you are not going to chew through their HP before the skunk gas just kills all the Lizards. We saw that happen twice, so this should be a pretty quick knockout here. Melvin doing a little bit of kiting. But the Badgers should be able to just clean everything up. So GG, I mean, I think NounVerber did a good job of navigating into the mid-game as far as, like, tech went, or not tech, but eco, like scouting and that kind of stuff, but just did not keep up with his own tier 2 development. Yeah, now, he's gonna say never surrender, but this game is definitely over. Melvinfro will take game number 1. Alright, game number 2. You got Melvin in the bottom rights and Noun in the top. Melvinfro with the owl this time around. Just going for that supreme ultimate late game. Like, that is a pretty sick, crazy late game comp, right? Like, if you actually had, like, pigeon, skunk, falcon, badger, owl. That's a pretty good. Meanwhile, I do like NounVerber's late game comp too. I think Cam, Falcon, Wolf is super solid. Snake's in there as well. I think overall I'd like NounVerber's deck better than Melvin's. NounVerber just gonna stick around, make sure no shenaniganery was happening there from Melvin. And pretty decent map, lots of options. I mean, they are pretty close. Pretty close rush distance there. The water's going to slow it down a little bit. But not a very good map for NounVerber, actually. You know, I mean, this mill there is a little sus. Meanwhile, Melvinfro's kind of got all the money on his side of the map. But this might just be a 1-base game. And based on how NounVerber played last time, maybe that's what he wants to do. Drop the Lizards. There are a lot of campfires around, so I would love to see players pick that up. They don't have the best units to grab a campfire. I always like putting a mole right next to the campfire. And it just like spawns, kills it, then you warp over to the mole, sell the mole by the campfire. It's pretty slick. Cams are also good at kind of going over there and getting the campfire. Yeah, I think you gotta be approaching this one as a 1-base game. Which I think does favor the Badger player, right? Like, the Wolf is a little bit more of a late game tier 3, where a Badger is a solid early to mid game tier 3. Like, Melvin can just build a mid-game army. Well, like, hang on. NounVerber's coming in. Does get a Warren, but probably going to lose the fight because of that. Yeah, and I wonder if this is just too much damage and Melvin's just going to counterattack and win. Let's see. I don't know, squirrels do rebuild pretty fast. NounVerber's got the snakes on the way, but I think what I really like about the Badger is that it just kind of naturally is like the icing on the cake of a mid-game army anyways, right? Like, you build up your squirrel skunk, and then that's a great army comp with that Badger, you know, add some pigeons in there, where the wolf, like, really wants you to have a bunch of tier 2. I mean, the wolf buffing tier 1's not bad either. It actually lasts a really long time. It can buff quite a few of them. But ideally, you want that wolf to, like, come out, maybe help you mine faster on your second base for a little while, and then end up buffing, like, your key units like camps. NounVerber, just no fear in this guy. Coming in for another attack, but unfortunately not going to work for him. And I think Melvin just wins the game off of that. Attacking in Tooth and Tail is so hard. It really is. And I think both games have been kind of the same story so far. NounVerber, like, really trying to get aggressive against Melvin, but Melvin just, with better positioning, better army comps, is able to take him down. And this is why I love just having those few pigeons. They really give this attack a lot of staying power. You know, those pigeons, like, heal. Yeah, 3 pigeons healing that falcon right now. I mean, that can be so frustrating for the enemy. GG, NounVerber. Gonna call it there. Melvinfro going up 2-0. All right, Melvin on match point. Let's see if NounVerber can bring it back against one of the champs. In the north, we've got Melvinfro, and in the south, NounVerber. And this map's a little okay. I mean, I think I'm fine with NounVerber's base. You got a nice second base right there, and a third if we really get there with this kind of game. Meanwhile, NounVerber kind of adjusting his deck again. Really kind of saw how much those pigeons did the work. But Melvin going to keep this Badger Owl style. And Melvin even going for a 5-farm Warren. NounVerber can respond with the 6-farm. Melvin just sold and rebought the Warrens, so it reset the squirrel timer. Essentially. Doesn't really want to build the squirrels, wants to send that money into farms instead. We used to see this kind of pre-8-farm Warren more often. It's not super relevant these days. Let's see, can NounVerber take it back? I think both games, they were in okay positions and then just kind of made some questionable attacks. I think if NounVerber can maybe, you know, navigate the mid-game a little bit more clearly and then find the right moment for that engagement, they could have a chance. The champs do bleed. So both players getting into a second base. NounVerber should scout it here. Gonna actually look for tier 2 instead at the main base. Oh no, they did. Oh, I'm sorry. No, they didn't see it. Throw down a cam. No farm yet, but hasn't seen the mill from their opponent, so needs to see it this time, and they will, and sees Melvin's building a couple farms. Yeah, I was gonna say, I wouldn't even hate a sell on the Squirrel Warren. That 3rd farm. Yep, I like that. And is gonna see the tier 2, so both players playing with pretty much perfect information at the moment. Good scouting for both sides. Snake's going down for Noun. Meanwhile, Melvin just pushing a few more farms. And so far, I think NounVerber is navigating this mid-game much better than they did in round 1. They did send a cam across the map. You need to be careful about that. Ugh. Yeah, GG on that cam. Rip. Didn't quite recall it back in time fast enough. It's always painful to lose a cam, but not going to be the end of the world. However, against a player like Melvinfro, it can feel really daunting when you become like any amount of food behind. Melvin gonna wrap up that second base saturation. And then, what's the play from here? Maybe building a couple more Squirrel Warrens and trying to poke and prod, maybe just getting into that Badger. Let's see what Melvin decides to do. NounVerber with a ton of tier 2 this time. But NounVerber does need to make like a strong mid-game attack, and he's setting himself up for it pretty well. I mean, like, once the Falcons come down, and you see Melvin trying to get into the tier 3, you know, maybe that's when you pull the trigger. You know, Wolf would have been really nice with this comp or something like that, but unfortunately, yeah, I do think this series has been defined by NounVerber attacking when he really doesn't need to or shouldn't, but I would feel a little pressured if I'm NounVerber without a tier 3. We're getting into like a proper late game. Needs to be careful here. Losing another tier 2. Hard to attack into this army comp here for Melvin. And there's the Badger. So what is going to be the answer to the Badger? NounVerber looking for another attack. Ugh. That is not going to be good. Commander death means that this army is not being controlled, and Melvin's just going to start picking it apart. NounVerber is back in action, trying his best to defend, but I think Melvin's compounded a few too many victories here and there, picking off a cam, picking off a couple of units. Now the Badger is bought and paid for. I mean, NounVerber is getting up to a decent amount of Falcons. Like, between the Falcons and the Snake, the Badger could be focus fired pretty quickly. But again, I think if that happened, the rest of Melvin's army would just kind of clean up those units without the Badger. And Melvin even getting into full third base saturation. I think NounVerber is in a very challenging spot here. Kind of behind on everything. Behind on Eco, Army, and Tech. And let's see, Melvin is not going to immediately march across the map with the Badger. Instead, going to get into some Owls. Really just solidify the win. Gonna drag the game on for another couple minutes. I think he could probably just attack and win, but better safe than sorry. This does buy time for NounVerber to just build more Falcons, so I think that's really what he needs. I mean, I said that NounVerber doesn't really have a late game because he doesn't have a tier 3, but he does have Falcons, and Falcons are a late game on their own. If you build like 30 Falcons, you know, doesn't really matter if they have a Badger, it just dies immediately. This would be a good time for NounVerber to attack. I mean, but $720 wrapped up in Owls right now that aren't on the field. So this might be NounVerber's moment. I don't know how much he knows that. He's not aware of the Owl Warrens. Alright, NounVerber looking for an angle here. The Owls have spawned. And Melvin getting into his perfect army comp. And I think Melvin's army's just gonna run him over here. Yep, and that is gonna be it. GG. Melvinfro takes the series 3-0. Alright, everybody. That is going to be it for me today. Thank you for tuning in. We got through most of the round of 16. There's 2 games left that QQ will cast tomorrow. Those will be Deep Sea for Zensej and R22 versus Exnor. So take a look at those. I will post the standings in the standings channel right after stream today. And you can consider the round of 8 officially kicked off. Please reach out to your opponent and get those games scheduled. There is only a 1-week time frame for the round of 8, so we are being a little aggressive there, but I know we can do it. Get this tournament wrapped up in a reasonable amount of time. So thanks again, everybody, for watching on Twitch and on YouTube. It's always a pleasure. If you want to keep a little bit more close of an eye on what's going on with the tournament, please join our Discord server. Everything is pretty well organized there to find it all. So thanks, y'all. I will probably... Will I be around? Actually, no. Next week, I'm going to be traveling for work, so I'm not going to be able to stream next week. So it might be a week or 2 before I stream again, but I'll keep everybody posted. So take care, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll see ya.